Always watching music videos.
Hi folks, Fanboys Forever here. This is Brandon.
And this is Jared.
And today we're coming at you with a tremendous rumor that had just hit the web only a couple of hours ago. If you keep track of DC Comics movie news, you may remember a couple of months ago there was a big rumor that the Joseph Gordon-Levitt character, who, spoiler alert, turns out to be a significant character in Batman history at the end of The Dark Knight Rises, may be portraying Batman in the Justice League film, the oft-discussed Justice League film. It's had, some ups and downs in its development. And that idea didn't sit well with a lot of people. I didn't hate the idea, but I just don't think it would have worked. And I didn't think it was something Warner Brothers would ever go for. There's been a lot of talk since then, and during that time period, they want to wait and do lots of Superman films first, 3 Superman films first. They're definitely going to wait and see how Man of Steel does financially before they make any decisions about Justice League. They put other DC projects on hold. Everything under the sun. Who knows what's true? But we've been hit with a whopper of a rumor that now says that Zack Snyder, who is directing Man of Steel, and Christopher Nolan, who directed the Batman trilogy and is producing Man of Steel, are on board to be part of the Justice League film project. That Snyder may direct it, and that they're both producing it. This rumor, comes from Latino Review, who, by and large, have been very accurate. They always break the big news in the entertainment business in this genre, and by and large, they're correct. Now, there was a bit of a stumble with them recently, where they reported some supposed news about the Marvel Studios films, about the direction that the Avengers movies
and I
are
think
going to
some
take.
of that may still pan out.
I think
but
so.
There was the rumor about the Hulk and what direction that movie may take that really has not been confirmed, and maybe isn't exactly looking 100% true yet.
So take this all with a grain of salt, but again, Latino Review is typically very reliable and typically relays accurate information. The rumor is that they are on board to direct the film, to produce and possibly direct the film, and that Christian Bale will indeed be back as Batman. Let's assume the version of Batman portrayed in the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight films. Now, if you've seen The Dark Knight Rises, you'll understand that the ramification of this decision is extreme. That they will somehow have to bring Batman back out of faked death retirement and to put him into the middle of the Justice League. To say nothing of the total issue of taking that version of Batman and putting him into the middle of a big superpower science fiction story, which has its own challenges. But who knows? And again, who knows if it's going to pan out? But I think that this is such extreme news, and coming from a source that is, by and large, so reliable that it warrants discussion. And I wanted us to talk about it today. So.
My general take on the situation is, if it's true, then cha-ching for Warner Brothers. I mean, really, this is the only way that they could make a Justice League movie and hope to compete with the Avengers.
Yes.
It really is, because I'm telling you right now that people won't be ready till at least 6 years from now, maybe, to really accept someone else as Batman besides Christian Bale. I mean, I really just don't see it happening. I think that they would absolutely, it's got to be Christian Bale, and absolutely Christopher Nolan would have to be involved in it somehow to get the fanboy blessing.
Definitely. There was a rumor some time ago that they may use the Justice League film as a vehicle to introduce the new Batman, and I didn't care for the idea. I think he either needs to be established or use, either wait on Justice League to create a new Batman film or use a pre-existing Batman.
I feel like that there's the problem with the end of The Dark Knight Rises, that you've got to surmount with this. And I don't feel like it's impossible, because
it's not impossible.
Anybody who reads Batman Incorporated knows that the idea in that is that Batman can't be everywhere at once, so he has multiple Batman. Well, I feel like it could always be entirely possible that the new series of standalone Batman films could really, it's possible that John Blake, might be Batman in them, whereas Christian Bale could be Bruce Wayne, that is. Maybe while he is going all over the world, that he feels that having a global presence with the Justice League would be the way that he could best continue to be Batman in a limited capacity for special events where he feels like, a duty calls.
Yeah.
Maybe Superman urges him out of retirement.
Just say that something as extreme as a threat that would require the creation of the Justice League, I believe that would be enough to convince Batman to come out of retirement.
I also believe that emotionally a big crux of the movie could be an event so extreme that you're sort of seeing it through Bruce Wayne's eyes, that he's sort of forced to be Batman again, that there's no quitting it.
Whatever Warner Brothers does with this project and whatever they do with the future of DC Comics movies, it's got to be extreme, and it's got to be as sure a thing as they can possibly pull out of the hat, because they are losing the battle cut and dry.
Well,
and it's difficult to see a situation where let's ride off winning. I don't think it's possible at this point, but to even compete, to even be competitive with the Marvel Studios films, it's going to be really difficult.
I think that Warner Brothers is really tired of losing. I think that they've lost so many times in the past few years. Anybody that knows a lot about the film industry knows that you have to make at least double your budget back to pay for advertising costs, to pay for distribution costs, and after that, whatever money you make, then that's clear money.
So a case like the Green Lantern film from a couple of years ago, which grossed just over its reported production budget,
still didn't make money.
Yeah, they can't. You have to consider that to begin with, a major studio only gets back a certain percentage of the ticket sales, and then they pay for distribution, they pay for, like you said, advertising and all that stuff. So for a movie to gross its budget back, it won't even break even. So, let's assume that they lost money on Green Lantern, and at the very least, they didn't make any money. They didn't do especially well with the previous attempt at rebooting Superman with Bryan Singer's Superman Returns, and we still don't know how Superman's going to do with Man of Steel. Now, if I'm going to bet my money right now, I'm going to predict this Man of Steel is going to be a big success for them. I think it's going to be a big money maker. I don't think it's going to meet the Dark Knight type of money. I don't think it's going to hit $1 billion, but I think we can expect it to make a comparable amount of money to the the non-Avengers Marvel Studios film. There are going to be comparisons drawn, positive and negative, between whatever happens with the Justice League and what had happened with the Avengers and what's going to happen with the Avengers 2. I think that Warner Brothers needs to pay close attention to some of the things that Marvel Studios is doing. I think they need to ignore some of the things that they're doing. I think they need to make sure that they're doing some things similarly, make sure that they do things the polar opposite, because they have to play to a slightly different audience. Who knows how true it is. By the time we get this video shot and edited, it may be debunked, it may be confirmed by then. I hope it's confirmed, because I would like nothing more for Justice League than to happen right now. But, if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have said there's no way he would have produced a Superman film. And, of course, that's obviously happening, very soon. So there's some means of communication that Warner Brothers has with him. There's something they can say that can get him interested in these types of projects. And it may be money. I don't get the impression that Nolan is a shallow person, but money can get people to agree to things that they.
I have a feeling that if this is true, then I know the origin of this whole series of events. I think that thanks to Warner Brothers executives and their family having early access to Man of Steel and getting to see the film, apparently they say that these executives and their family are just crazy over the movie. As a matter of fact, some of the people in the know are claiming on the internet that it could be the best movie of the year. Now, if the response was that wildly positive to a product that Zack Snyder directed, Christopher Nolan produced, and involved superpowers, then Warner Brothers clearly believes, okay, then we can now take out the checkbook and get serious about making sure these exact same people are doing a Justice League movie. And then once you get Christopher Nolan on board with him producing, if he can give his endorsement of Zack Snyder as a director to Christian Bale, then Christian Bale, who has always said he would come back for Christopher Nolan, it would be a package.
Yeah, that is a confirmed element of this whole situation, that Bale has said that he would be willing to return if Christopher Nolan was involved. And I think it was a matter of Warner Brothers. Let's assume that Warner Brothers has wanted, thanks to the success of those films, which have been incredibly successful, they have wanted Christian Bale from the get-go for Justice League. But, the end of Rises didn't leave them many options, and, Nolan, backing down from directing any more of these DC films has done that too. But I think Warner Brothers knew that if they could get Nolan's name on the product, that Bale could be, convinced to do it.
The tragedy to me always, whenever they talk about Justice League or anything like that, we all knew Henry Cavill would be Superman in a Justice League movie, and I was always thrilled with that. I thought he would make a wonderful Justice League kind of context Superman. But the tragedy was that I always felt like rather than Ralph and Christian Bale belonging together as Batman and Superman, that never, ever, ever seemed to fit for me in the least. However, when I see Cavill, I see him dressed as Superman, it would just look correct with him and Batman together, Christian Bale Batman.
The visual
together.
Symmetry of those two iterations of the characters together is just, you can go online and you can find all kinds of Photoshop.
Lots of good mock-ups and things.
And they just look terrific together. Tonally, they just match perfectly.
And they also seem like similar kinds of actors in a way, similar sorts of performance. They're both British, if that counts for anything. And I feel like if they're together, the kind of, the synergy between them is going to be the world's finest synergy, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. And I think there's an interesting dynamic between them in age terms, because Bale is a older actor, today. To be a mainstream actor in big action movies, he's quite old, in fact. And so I like the notion of an older Batman with a younger Superman. I think that's a cool idea.
For years, Warner Brothers have bounced that around as the approach they would take. That Batman would be an older character that would be sort
mentoring Superman.
Yeah, mentoring Superman.
How to be a better superhero.
In the comics, I've always felt like the notion is that Batman is a good 5 or 6 years older than Superman is. Of course, he doesn't age like anybody else, but still, at the same time, just the feeling of the character is always more world-weary. So it's completely appropriate that he would be older. I feel that if Christopher Nolan will be involved, that we might be seeing something of more of a supernatural, Twilight Zone kind of threat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, an Outer Limits sort of.
Yeah, Outer Limits sort of deal.
Like a subverted sort of alien invasion.
Right.
It's quick to, it's an easy and quick response to alien invasion. Aliens come to Earth.
Right.
But I think that's kind of lazy, and I love the way the Avengers did it. I love the approach of the Chitauri. If you do an alien army comes to Earth, it's just going to be seen as derivative, and it would probably be derivative, on lesser hands. But something like an invasion of the Body Snatchers, type deal, right. A hidden enemy sort of situation on Earth, that would be, Superman with all his powers would need the world's greatest detective to help him figure out that.
Right. Now you get into sort of some dangerous territory when you go there because, is there a clear threat then?
Yeah. A Justice League story that I love from the 90s was The Final Night. And I think you take a situation like that where you don't necessarily have to go quite as sci-fi if you were doing it in a film, but something like if the sun in our solar system were to stop burning, that would be, the Justice League would obviously have to approach that. The idea of the sun burning out is a real notion, in this universe, and scientists have pondered the idea. So something like that, I think would be a reasonable threat for the Justice League.
I feel like whatever threat there is, these are all really good circumstantial threats that we have, but I feel like you would need to have a strong villain character. Let's say, for instance, Hiddleston, when he played Loki, that was a good face for the villainy of, say, Thanos in the movie. And that's a good idea to have sort of an agent of the chaos that occurs. Now, I would actually be very, very fond of the idea of a Legion of Doom. And I mean that in the biggest translation most celebrities taken with the idea of a Legion of Doom. I'm not saying call them that, but a legion of characters that are enemies of the heroes put together. Could you imagine just taking Mark Strong, Sinestro, and just having him, appear on Earth? And let's say that we go ahead and cast a Luthor for the Man of Steel universe.
I think Justice League may be the right platform to cast a character like Luthor.
Right.
Get him out of the way, and then he can, be an element of future Superman films. Maybe incorporate some of the ideas from All-Star Superman as far as Luthor is concerned. Have him be a big element, and maybe Luthor I see as the character who could potentially be involved in the threat or the disaster that the Justice League is facing. He gets in over his head into some intergalactic scientific experiment or something like that, causes a problem, and he can be locked up at the end and return for a Superman film.
I also feel like there's plenty of great Nolan Batman villains that you could also bring out of retirement, like the Scarecrow, and to have him be a threat. And this could be a good opportunity to recast the Joker. Why not Mark Strong as Sinestro? Why not a new guy that they bring in as Lex Luthor? And why not Scarecrow being major villains for the movie? And think about it. Those are all three original members of the Legion of Doom. And wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah, I think
come back.
That would be terrific.
Solomon Grundy. Put Solomon Grundy in the movie as a supernatural threat that Superman would have a hard time fighting.
Everybody loves zombies, so
right. It would be
find a way to put a zombie in the movie. Yeah, that would be terrific, I think. And maybe Cheetah for Wonder Woman. I think that group of five would be the perfect.
They could even do something pretty special with Gorilla Grodd. Look at what's happened in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. That is still a bankable notion to have a villainous ape of some sort. As what was the name of the villainous ape? Scar or something.
Yeah, something like that.
It was really crazy. I was really frightened of it.
Yeah, he was.
So it was very effective. And if that can work, then Gorilla Grodd can work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But either way, think about it. It sounds a little dopey at first, but handled the right way, the Legion of Doom coming together under, strange circumstances would be, I think, the very best threat that the Justice League could face in the movie.
And I would like to say that I don't think that I don't think that idea would have flown with the Avengers. There's no way that they could have taken all these villains from the previous films. If it had been
Joss Whedon they claim really wanted to put one in, and they say it's the Red Skull.
Yeah.
But the Marvel wouldn't let him, so it was no deal.
I think if you had an Avengers story where the Red Skull and Loki and I guess both of Iron Man's villains were killed, but
yes.
And the Abomination had teamed up, I just don't think it would have flown. There's something about it that doesn't work, but maybe it's that it's just a historical idea in brand terms. But for the Justice League, I think that's a very bankable idea. I think that would appeal to people a lot.
I believe that with Wonder Woman, you could use this movie to be a springboard for her own movie. That could happen, and it would be pretty easy to do it. And not only that, but if, say, she fights Cheetah in this film, she could always. There's a myriad of other Wonder Woman villains that they could always focus on in another movie.
Or
her making an appearance.
If not Cheetah, a character like Ares would be great as part of the Legion of Doom. We're trying to focus on characters that were members of the Legion of Doom and Super Friends, but there's they're interchangeable characters that you could pick for one of the heroes or the other. But I do think that the three that we mentioned specifically are I think those are because they're established. Two of them have been established with established actors, and one of them is a well-known character who needs to be established.
I think it would be fine by me if Christian Bale just shown up as Batman and did the same thing. Fine.
You can keep it very ambiguous and never really have to say.
And you never really have to say when it happens. Maybe in the time he was retired as Batman, he had adventures with the Justice League, but did not do anything in Gotham City. I know that's preposterous, but
I feel like that's something that's not going to happen. But strange.
But I'm saying if they can get Christian Bale back, I think that everybody will be making a leap of faith to not worry about it. We know that from a leaked list that Warner Brothers is really, really keen on having a 6-member Justice League.
Yeah, a very small group.
And it's going to be Batman, it's going to be Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, we have no idea which Green Lantern, The Flash.
And a 6th member in a smaller role, I suppose, analogous to the way Hawkeye was presented in the Avengers. And they say that there are several possibilities. It could be Hawkman, it could be Aquaman, it could be Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, some sort of cameo.
I think that's a good... I feel like Martian Manhunter is... I think he plays to that alien invasion element that I don't really want them to approach. So I don't think that's a good idea. I think Aquaman... if you're a comic book fan, you love Aquaman. If you watched Brave and the Bold, you love Aquaman, no doubt. But I think that he has something of a reputation.
You could not call him Aquaman in the movie. I don't think that would work. Right?
Hawkman, and that's the those are the 3 names that have specifically been dropped recently. Hawkman, I just don't see either. I don't so I don't. I think that the 5-member league would be fine. I would like to see an additional character in the film, but I just don't. I don't quite know who it would be. I think Green Arrow would be great. I think if they could pull it, I would like to see the actor Stephen Amell, I believe is his name, from the TV series, the current TV series, appear in a brief, spot as the Green Arrow in the Justice League film. I think that would be a great way, and it would it'd be something that Marvel hasn't done yet. You take a character established in a TV series and you lead him into a feature film.
Okay, now let's all assume for a moment that the Green Lantern that will be in the movie is Hal Jordan, because okay, it would be fine, if we go the other way.
Years ago when there was the George Miller Justice League project kicking around, you had the John Stewart Green Lantern as the Green Lantern on the team, and they had cast that film, as some of you may know, with Common playing John Stewart, which I thought was a great idea.
Yeah,
I think
he looks really good for the part.
He looks great for the part, and I think he's a really good actor.
What's funny is that now he's probably too old to play it.
Yeah, pretty
because
much.
he was much older than the rest of the cast that they had assembled for that
and
movie,
this was
DJ Catrona and
this was about 6 years ago now that this idea was kicking around. So I think that idea's passed. But you do have an established Green Lantern film, and it wasn't successful. It wasn't particularly well liked. I actually liked it all right. Jared didn't care for it hardly as much.
But even I think that from a business standpoint and also from a continuity standpoint, that it would be a good idea to put Ryan Reynolds in the movie as the Green Lantern. I really think that.
I think that as an actor, he's still got a good deal of bankability. And again, even more than the Batman situation, leave it very ambiguous. It can be as ambiguous as it needs to be. Just have him appear as Hal Jordan. Just allude to the fact that he's an established character, but you don't have to. I would say change the costume. I would like to see a new 52 Hal Jordan costume in the Justice League film. Actually, don't throw back anything except, like Jared mentioned, I'd love to see Mark Strong as Sinestro as a villain.
Right. We know that that's very important. I know that fanboys like to ignore that, but it is important demographically. The Avengers understood this, and they saw to it that there was a man of color that was represented, that there was at least 2 prominent women involved in the heroes, and they made sure that this was addressed. Now, for Justice League to be able to do this, the obvious out is John Stewart being the Green Lantern, and that would be fine by me if they could do it right. That's fine. I would much prefer that Hal Jordan be the Green Lantern, just because of it's just unlimited the amount of history and gravitas that would bring versus John Stewart.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with racial makeup or anything. I love John Stewart. But we need a way to make this more diverse. Then there's some very good choices. The best choice would be to bring in Cyborg as a member of the Justice League.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you why Cyborg is relevant and why people can. I think people need to get over it. The Cyborg is a member of the Justice League New 52. Our world is so driven by technology and computers. Wouldn't the Cyborg character be the perfect thing to interface with that technology in a way that no other member can do it?
And I think every week or every month there's a big news story about the developments in prosthesis and artificial limbs technology.
It would not be outrageous to have a man who is built of these kind of advanced parts.
So that technology is so real world, and we see so many developments about it all the time that I think it'll be great. And again, talking about children identifying with the movie, think of what that sort of story arc for a character would mean to a child with an unfortunate disability. Consider that you could, if you were a kid with an artificial arm or an artificial leg, to see a superhero with that same affliction, and to have to walk a thin line, you wouldn't want to be you wouldn't want it to be insulting, or you wouldn't want it to be in poor taste. Yeah, but I think there's a really good opportunity there.
This is an idea that I've kicked around a little bit in my head. I mean, everybody really loves Anne Hathaway right now. She's at a high point in her career, so why not have Catwoman be a member of the Justice League?
Yeah, I think that would be great, an auxiliary
member. And she's dying to play it again. Mm-hmm. And think about it. If the continuity for Rises is to be followed, then Batman and Catwoman ran off together and apparently get married or have some kind of life together. So wouldn't they be a package deal? Wouldn't she come along for the ride?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know about anybody else, but I would love to see more Anne Hathaway Catwoman.
Absolutely.
She would be awesome in that. Somebody, an infiltrator, a stealth person, somebody to, break into places. It would be really cool. It would be very organic to the story.
And, I liked the Black Widow role in the Avengers, and I think this would be an analogous element.
Right.
Wonder Woman would not...
no, she would not fill that same...
Yeah, fill the same role that Black Widow did.
She would be fighting with Superman and the other guys,
So there you'd have, you have Wonder Woman as the Lady Superman and Catwoman as the Lady Batman, and so you have these really, terrific, strong characters for young girls to look up to, the way that the young boys look up to Superman and Batman, and I think that's one of the best things they could do. I think that it needs to be an amalgamated character. I feel that in name the character should certainly be Barry Allen.
Right. Because that lines up with New 52 right now.
But I think that he needs to have a lot of the humor of the Wally West character, and I think that he needs to have some of the gravity of the Jay Garrick character, and some of the energy of the Bart Allen, as the Flash from the previous continuity. In terms of actors to possibly portray the Flash, I know Ryan Gosling has kicked around the idea recently of just he's name dropped Justice League. He talked about what kind of projects are going on at Warner Brothers. I think that'd be a great choice.
Oh yeah,
I can't think of a better actor in that age range to do it. Honestly,
he would be
I think
awesome for it.
Looks perfect for the part. He'll bring the right kind of humor. It won't be silly humor or slapstick humor, but it'll be very very good traditional, very good worded humor. I think ideally, obviously Henry Cavill is going to be Superman, and if the rumor holds true, Christian Bale is Batman. I do want to see Ryan Reynolds back as Green Lantern. I think he deserves a second shot in a product that will be better. I'd love Ryan Gosling as the Flash. I think that would be a great choice. Again, if it works out, I would love to see the actor Stephen Amell from Arrow brought over into the big feature film. Maybe hopefully the same thing for the actress playing Wonder Woman in the Amazon TV series, and then Cyborg would be the other. A 7-member league is pushing it a little bit, and that's more than I think Warner Brothers wants. But I think that's the sort of thing you could approach. Again, and Catwoman being part of the group or being an auxiliary member would be good too. But you'd have an opportunity to have characters in a supporting role. I think Cyborg would be good in a supporting role, and then he could branch out into future projects. If any of these, gauge the response from the audience of which of these characters are the most popular, and give them their own feature film or give them a TV series afterwards. Anything like that is possible.
Well, I think that about does it for our little discussion of the Justice League news. We're still anxiously waiting to see if this news pans out. It really ought to, if any of the Latino reviews scoops in the past are comparable to this one. We're really hoping that especially the casting with Christian Bale pans out, that he and Henry Cavill can finally be the world's finest on screen. Well, honestly, we would take a world's finest movie at this point. It's just some of our general thoughts, and we will see how things pan out.
We would really love it if you would drop us a comment, tell us your opinion about the project.
Let us know what you think. If you disagree, that's fine. If you agree, even better.
And we hope to bring you more videos like this in the future. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Brandon.
This has been Jared.
Fanboys Forever. Signing out.
Good luck, Justice League.